I think that's one of my frustrations when I take a look how long it's taking to get shovels into the ground, to get these homes built right now. In some municipalities that I know, sometimes it takes about 7 years to get the permits. And I don't know why it takes so long. Like, if I was running my business, like some municipalities are running their planning departments and whatnot, I would have been bankrupt a long time ago. But one of the things I want to focus on, I know we were talking about Richmond Hill and the infrastructure funding that they got. Can we focus a bit on, the power of collaboration, how Mayor West and his council were able to work together to move things forward, I think in like 10 days or so?
Yeah. No, I think it's important, at that level that a mayor and the councillors work together well, like they're on the same path, and they prioritize things. It's always about, what you think is important. And I think Richmond Hill had a real focus on making sure that affordable housing, community housing was available. So when they saw this opportunity, and I have to say the staff in Richmond Hill as well were very on it, just moving on it quickly. And they were all involved. And I think it made a huge difference. And from the perspective of somebody who grew up with a family in municipal regional government, I understand how important that is, the collaboration, working with bringing along not just the council, but remember, every one of those councillors represent a ward.
Yes. Right?
They represent people. So you're getting from the bottom up, which is why I dislike so much the strong mayor powers that Doug Ford put in.
Yes.
It's just, to me, it's anti-democratic. Yeah. It's moving in the wrong way. We don't need autocrats. We need representatives working with people, working with one another, to move things forward in an efficient way.
So here's the thing, that the only reason why I'm smiling right now is that I used to enjoy watching debates in the House, and I used to enjoy watching council meetings. And what I found right now is, the most disrespectful, crazy things that someone can say in Parliament. And it sort of undermines what it is that we truly stand for right now. And what I'm finding as well with like strong mayor powers and others is people don't need to learn how to work together. People don't need to necessarily respect one another's opinions. People don't need to figure out ways, because it's always been like a negotiations, right? I mean, regardless of how we look at it, and I'm going to work with you on this that's important to you. You'll work on something over here. You'll support me. And this is how we kept things moving forward. And I feel that that's all gone.
Well, I hope it's not gone forever, Wasim, but I agree with you. It is right now. And we see it in so many levels right now. I mean, literally, the House of Commons has stopped working. We're paralyzed because of what's happening. And it's because it's all about attack now and about just winning, as opposed to working together to advance programs for Canadians. It's become way too polarized. And on a personal level, we've lost good people that aren't going to be running again. And I get very discouraged at times when I'm sitting in the House and I'm thinking, what am I doing? And then I keep thinking, okay, just keep working, keep moving forward, keep trying to help people. That's what I'm here for.
Because your heart's in the right place. Like, this takes you back a bit to how you were raised, right? Like, your mom and dad, I still see them walking on Main Street, holding hands. Your dad trying to attend, and your mom, every single event that they can at their age. I believe they're in their 80s right now.
Almost 90.
Yeah, almost 90. Yeah. So they're still trying to attend. They're still trying to support the community. They're still trying to be the best citizens that they can. And I get it. Like, you grew up in that household. You grew up with seeing around you individuals that want to genuinely help and make a difference in the community. And then you look at, what's happening and you're like, am I doing the best that I can? But and I think in a sense, sometimes you can take that personal because you genuinely care to make a difference. And sometimes you don't see that difference right away. There is a difference, but you might not be seeing it, and then you're hard on yourself. And I notice that in you.
Yeah. It is. It's hard. It's hard some days. But, I got to the point where I actually thought, is this the right thing to be doing? Then I realized if I were to say no because of the toxicity in the House right now, because of the way people are being treated and the lack of respect, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to step back. I'm not going to run again. I'm thinking, then who is going to? Like, who's going to step up and do that? And when I see some of the people that are running right now, some of the by-elections that have been run, I get very concerned because if people feel comfortable in that environment, and that's why they're running, what kind of people are we getting? So, at the risk of offending some, my new phrase is don't let the bastards get you down. Like, just keep doing the good work, trying to focus on Canadians, taking one step at a time, try and help people, be in there for the right reasons. And I have to believe that Canadians will respect that that's what Canadians want. They want us to work together. They want us to collaborate. They want us to be respectful. And it's difficult. Like, people right now, there's clips out about me. I get death threats. I get hate mail. Because even in committees where we're supposed to be doing the real work, Wasim, people, the opposition, is taking clips, taking them out of context, saying I'm doing something else, and posting them on social media.
Yeah.
And then all these people start to attack you, and you're going, I can't even speak freely in a committee where we're supposed to be doing the real work of government because I have to fear for what I'm saying in case somebody takes it out of context.
It's a sad state.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
We have to get back. And I think, so in my mind, the more people who run, the more people who get elected who believe this, who are people that want to see respect, who want to see collaboration, who want to see integrity, the more our house is going to become that way. And if I back off, I'm just leaving a seat for somebody else that may not believe that.
Yeah, no, of course.
And I can't do that.
And we see a lot of, we see what can happen when good people decide not to run. And we see that in countries that are close to us right now, that it can create a bit of a chaos. Yeah. So I'm happy that you're considering it. I'm happy you're doing great work right now. But we want to move to something else and something that's dear to my heart and your heart as well, which is the backbone of our communities, and that's small businesses.
Absolutely.
So I know that your government is doing a lot of work on the small business front to support them, make sure that they have the tools, the funding, innovation dollars to continue to grow. But why is supporting small business important in a local community?
Well, I think when we were talking earlier and I said, businesses, it's all about profit. I believe that when you're talking about large corporations and multinationals. I actually don't believe it's the same thing for small businesses. I actually think small businesses where they're involved in the community, where they're part of it, like you give back a lot, right? You see the community, you're part of it, your business depends on it, not just your business, but your livelihood, your well-being. And so I think small businesses are different in that they truly do want to have success in their business, but they also know that part of that is contributing to the success of the community. And they just feel that because that's where they live and they're their neighbors. So it's about the economy, and most jobs are created by small businesses, but it's also about communities, and it's also about other stakeholders. It's about people who care. And, our country is built from, individual family units, communities, businesses. Those are the building blocks. So for me, the small businesses, and, my dad was a small business owner growing up. I've been an entrepreneur as well. I know what it's like. And I think we need to do what we can. And I think when we talked about red tape, about bureaucracy, one of the things that we really need to get better at, and we're working on, we have a new minister in charge of this, is to really streamline things, to make it easier. So digital adaptation program was one where we're trying to help. Right now, even trying to stimulate business for restaurants through this HST holiday, right? Just doing things where we can create some demand, perhaps, where we can help in certain ways. We just, this month, all small businesses are going to be receiving a Canada Carbon Rebate. So the money that they have contributed through the fuel levy or the carbon levy over the last years is being returned to them. And this is a good time around this time of year, for them. So we're trying to
Any time is good to get money back from the government.
Anytime is a good time to get money back, absolutely. And, we brought the small business tax down, right, from 11 to 9% when we came into office. That was a big drop.
Yes.
And when you look at our taxes in Canada, and we're always talking, people are always saying, we're taxing. We really aren't when you compare it to other countries, again. Like, it's all relative. So, we want to help small businesses. We want to support boards of trade. We were just at an event last night, and they do such a fantastic job. The Chamber of Commerce here in Aurora, the Board of Trade in Richmond Hill, in encouraging and helping businesses. And they're our partners in rolling out these projects and these programs because we need that local interaction with the businesses. So, I think anything our government can do to help small businesses is really important. And, we have a small business minister who was an entrepreneur herself, again, a small business owner. We're out there. I talk to small businesses a lot and look for feedback. And then we try and put in programs through federal development, all sorts of different sizes depending on the size of the business. But we have a lot of supports for businesses in Canada, and we know the economy matters.
Of course.
It matters, and it matters to all of us because it's what fuels our well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed something. You're talking about profits, larger corporations, multinationals and local businesses. And what I found is a lot more of these small businesses, they're the ones that are giving back to the local teams. They're the ones that are going and shopping locally, whether it's on Main Street or here in Aurora or in Oak Ridge's Richmond Hill. They truly believe the impact of supporting local and shopping local. And I think those are the campaigns that a lot of the chambers are doing right now. And I believe the chambers are doing, a great job, whether it's, Central York or Aurora, Board of Trade in Richmond Hill. They're doing a great job where they're also innovating what their role is to support small businesses. Because before the chamber, and I talked with, the CEO of Newmarket or Central York Chamber, and it was, I don't want to go to a place or belong to a chamber that is a place where I just go have a breakfast. I hand out a few cards, I see the same people. So the idea is that, what the government is doing to support small businesses in collaboration as well with the boards of trade and the chambers to be able to innovate and provide and support with more tools to let these businesses grow, because they are definitely the backbone of our community.
Absolutely. And, I meet with them regularly. It has to be two ways, right? We have to listen to them. It's like with municipalities and, regions, is we need to listen to them. I just met with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business in Ottawa this past week. Talked to them about some of the programs we have in place, some of the things they're looking for. And then, we talk to finance, we talk to the government and say, okay, what can we do now? Like, how can we address some of this? So it has to be a conversation. And like anything, like our government at the federal level in particular, we can provide leadership. We can provide funding for innovation, for pilots and things like that. Our government does that, but we rely on community organizations. We rely on municipalities. We rely on the provinces to an extent. They deliver all of the social services. They deliver healthcare.
Yes.
We fund and send direction, but these boards of trades and chambers of commerce are so important in making sure that the message gets out to their membership and that we hear what their membership is thinking. So, it's so important, Wasim, and you're right. They are part of the community. They give back to the community. And I won't say that, there are some multinationals and national corporations who do it as well. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But they're not as connected to the community. I think that's the difference here. They have some great programs as well, but it's at a different level. And quite frankly, when you look at some of the large multinationals now, especially in the social media space or in oil and gas, for example, or even some of the big financial firms, they're making so much profit. And they're not, yes, they give back, but it's not the same proportion.
Very small.
Exactly, as small businesses do when it comes to it. So, we need them, but, I think they don't need government support the same way small businesses do, quite frankly.
So I know from the past as well, you're big on environmental sustainability and the importance of that. But why should we care about environmental sustainability?
Well, I think we say, and I believe it, that you cannot have an economic plan without an environmental plan. Quite frankly, right now, it's not. And again, it's not just here. We can look at this in Aurora or Richmond Hill and say it's not impacting us that much, but it actually is. Some places can't get flood insurance anymore, right? Flood insurance rates are going up. The reason they're going up is because they've had to pay, billions of dollars in claims from Lytton and from Jasper and from the storms on the East Coast and from the droughts.
Insurance companies are not in the business of losing money at the end of the day. No.
So
they have to balance risk.
These climate events that are happening more around the periphery of Canada, quite frankly, than the center right now, are causing huge economic costs to our government, to society, to insurance, and ultimately to us.
Yes.
And, and at the municipal level, you talk to, again, the town of Aurora, the city of Richmond Hill, their wastewater systems, right? There's a lot of infrastructure updating that's needed. People seem to think that climate change, like putting in a program to fight climate change, yes, it costs something. It does. We, through the Price on Pollution program, are giving the money back to Canadians through the Canada Carbon Rebate. It is one of the best ways to do this and not have people pay. But it's not very popular, Wasim. And I think part of it is that we haven't been good at communicating.
I totally agree. That was the biggest thing. When I looked at it, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I try to, I probably consider myself
you keep up on things,
more,
and I know.
Yeah, and when you're not able to communicate it, any policy, and this is where I think, the government, any governments sometimes makes a mistake is, they're in a room, they're like, oh, this is great, no problem, and it will benefit people. But then with all the advisors and all the communication people that they have and everything, and they're trying to communicate, and people are like, what? Like, what is this?
Exactly.
Right? People don't understand it. But the impact of it is very important, because one of the things today on social media that you read, people are getting their insurance renewals. House insurance and car insurance. Oh my God, it's gone up this much. Oh my God, it's gone up that much. And part of it is obviously the auto thefts that's happening right now, which is a pandemic on its own right now. But you have that, and you have the issues that are happening everywhere in the world. In Canada, and Jasper. But people need to understand that the environment and what we do to preserve it will also impact us financially.
Absolutely, and not just insurance, right? Health costs. Healthcare is a huge thing in Canada right now. We made a historic investment of $200 billion in the healthcare system, which was the normal kind of Canada health transfer. But we put an extra $50 billion that we gave to provinces to make sure that they can get family doctors, that wait times are down, and that we have better data management for faster responses for people. But you realize the more health incidents there are, the more problems we have with health, and that is being exacerbated by pollution. It's being exacerbated by climate change. Heat stroke in these heat waves for vulnerable people, seniors who are having problems dealing with some of the extreme snow, some of the weather that's happening, right? Can't get to a hospital. People who are vulnerable, people who are affected by climate change, it impacts our health. Our ability to breathe, people with asthma. You look at the increase in certain kinds of conditions right now. So it's costing our healthcare system. That costs us too, right? We pay the taxes for our healthcare system. The province has to deal with this. So that increasing demand is another way it impacts us. So there's a lot of indirect costs that people don't see as much as they see when they see a fuel charge to fight pollution, to make polluters pay. They don't like that, but they think, oh, that costs. But the alternative is, if we do nothing, costs will go up anyway.
Well, we did nothing for a long period of time as well.
Well, and that was a
right?
big part of the problem. Under Harper, science was ignored, and we did nothing to fight this pollution, this increasing pollution. Not only that, but our green spaces, Wasim. You think about mental health right now, in mental health crisis. I'll tell you that I know in this riding that the trails we have, the green spaces we have, the ability to get out in nature, the ability to bike or hike or do things, or for a senior to go to a park and sit and talk to somebody. Those are very important things. And if we continue to devalue our green spaces, our wilderness, our nature, we are going to pay the price as well, not just in terms of flood insurance, which it also impacts, but also health, mental health, other things. We have to be doing this. And I think it's so hard to say to people, it's cost something, and either we do it this way or that way, but we have to do something. There's no choice.
It's sometimes I think about advocacy and different companies and how they advocate and with politicians, and whether they really understand the science or ignore it just because of other considerations, right? And one of the things that I look at is, if everyone starts thinking of the future of their kids, the future of their families, communities, countries, but also the world, because everything ties in together.
Absolutely.
People will make different decisions, and whether that means that they'll get reelected or not, they know that they're working for something higher. But I understand, politics sometimes, I see stuff, I hear stuff, and I'm like, I can't believe that I heard that or I saw that. And then I take a look at the makeup of a certain area, and I'm like, oh, that's what they're doing. They're trying to appeal to their base. But one of the things I want to move from, because you mentioned mental health, and we're noticing an increase, a huge increase, exponential increase in homelessness and mental health crisis. And we had a project here in Aurora that was proposed for emergency and transitional housing for men. Yeah. And I'll mention this, I believe, and this is just my comment, that if it wasn't for men, there wouldn't be a big uproar against it. And I've seen it in other places. But Is there a reason why some municipalities are not taking serious the homelessness issue and not doing their part? I notice in Newmarket right now, I was just at a ceremony the other day at 835 Gorham. They've taken Kevin's place and they're turning it into 14 deeply affordable units right now through Blue Door. So shout out to Mike Braithwaite and his team for doing that. But why is it that in Aurora, and I'll just mention it, I mean, it's all over, in Aurora, council decided against it?
Yeah. And you actually see now one of the councillors have reversed their position.
John Gallo.
John Gallo said he made a mistake.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with something you just said, which is about leadership and not being so concerned with being reelected. If you feel like you're doing the right thing, if you feel like you're moving forward, and I think I would say most Aurorans would say taking care of people who are experiencing homelessness is the right thing to do.
Yeah, these men, don't they deserve a safe place, like a comfortable place, a warm place right now? I walked from my car into the studio here and it was cold. I can't imagine these people not being able to have a safe place and a comfortable place for them.
Yeah, and we see, I agree with Wasim. I think that project had been agreed to by the town for quite a while. It had moved along. It was ready to go. And then there were people in the area who thought it was a problem. And I understand that. Look, I live in the area, but I was okay with it, Wasim. I was okay with it because I felt like, we need that the space was actually good. There was public transit. It was right near some shops people could walk to. It was a great location in terms of people, the individuals being able to be part of things as well. And this is the thing is I think sometimes we look at homelessness as opposed to people experiencing homelessness because they're going through something in their lives.
Correct.
It's a period. And as opposed to somebody looking and saying, oh, that's a homeless person. No, it's not a homeless person. It's this person experiencing homelessness. They're people just like us. It's just that maybe
fell on hard times.
They fell on hard times, or perhaps they have an addiction.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's the reading, and they need help. But they're people like us, and so we want that. I think in a community that cares, and I think Aurora is a community that cares. There has to be a space, and yes, there's never the ideal space.
Yes.
So you have to look at different things, but that was a space that was agreed to for a long period of time by people.
Money was spent on it, and when you're talking about individuals experiencing homelessness and saying that they're people just like you and I.
Yeah.
I have a friend who was living in a pretty nice home, had a business, went through a marriage breakup, and it was a very messy marriage breakup, and he was living in his car. So he went from a big home to living in the car. Yeah. And there's a lot of situations that we hear, whether it's addiction and whatnot. But when we're talking about location, right? Location.
Uh-huh. You know that from your business.
Of course, and I guarantee you, if we were to drive by that location 100 times, no one would even know where it is.
Yeah.
Because it was in right behind there, and people complained about it, and I know why. And one of the things that I did actually mention to some people, they're like, it's so close to the railway tracks, and people that paid $3 million for their homes, I showed them on the map. I'm like, your backyard is actually closer than where they're planning on building this, but you paid $3 million to live there.
I know.
So, but I think this is an issue that we need to continuously, as a community, work on and have you advocate for, like you always do, and we appreciate you for that, because I don't believe that it is my right, if I have a privilege that I have heat in my home and I have a roof over my head, that I can tell someone else, no, you can't have this. Yeah. I think that is not real leadership. I think that's more of a populist view, and that's a problem.
It is, and you see what's happening in Ontario right now with Doug Ford saying, some mayors saying, we don't want the encampments, we want people off the streets. And I understand that, and believe me, I'm sure most of those people would like to be off the streets, but we need to have shelters for them to be in, or we need to have small houses and affordable housing. People need a place to be, and you can't just say, oh, we're going to get them out of the parks. Well, if there's no alternative for them to live in, what are they going to do? So you can't have it both ways. And if people in Aurora don't want homeless people putting up encampments in the parks, then we need to build shelters.
Of course.
We need to build shelters, and we need deeply affordable housing. And that's the better way. It is not only the right thing to do, it is the smart thing to do, Wasim. It's the decent thing to do.
I know that your government had a lot of funding to organizations, not-for-profits, and what it was doing, I think, through the
Reaching Home program?
Yeah. So the Reaching Home program, where you allow you assisted in purchasing properties, and I know that there's a lot of properties right now that are available on the market, and they're multi-units, 6-plexes, 8-plexes, and whatnot, that if they're not purchased by the not-for-profit sector, they're gone.
Yeah. They get torn down. Some other thing goes up.
Of course, and they become very unaffordable.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things that we need to continuously advocate for. So thank you for your advocacy on that.
Absolutely,
for sure.
No, I mean there's so many challenges right now, Wasim. But I think this is the thing with government is that you're not going to solve all the problems right away. All you can do is keep working and listening to people, and getting experts together, basing things on science and fact, and not just anecdotes and slogans. Quite frankly, it's not something where you can just say, I'll make it happen, and it happens. No, it takes hard work. It takes good policies like you're talking about, reaching home and keeping these buildings and making sure affordable housing stays, and building shelters and making sure people are taken care of, and stimulating the economy at the same time.
Of course.
So there's so many pieces. And with populism right now, it's kind of this thing where it's all about the cult of the leader, and I say I can do it, and I'm the only one that can do it,
yes.
and it's all his fault, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in life. It doesn't work that way in government, and it does take time. And we're in an era of instant gratification where 3 months is a long time. Like, talk about long-term planning. Like, we need to understand, I think, all of us, and I think many people do understand it, but it's just difficult at times to say those are the trade-offs. But I have great hope. As I said, I'm bullish on Canada, Wasim. I think we have the best country. We have all the resources. We have an incredibly well-educated workforce. We have a diverse population with ideas and thoughts from so many different backgrounds, great innovators. And we have the natural resources, the minerals. And we have a government right now that is investing in Canadians and investing in Canadian infrastructure and attracting businesses to Canada. We are really at a good spot. We're still in a tough point, but I think
we're going to get there.
We're going to get there, and our future is bright. It's still the best country in the world to be in.
100%. So one of the other items that's equally important is that we see that there is an attack on women's rights and women's ability to choose. You're chair of the Women's Liberal Caucus. How do you view what is happening around the world, and how do we prevent it from creeping into Canadian society?
It's scary. I don't think we can. I don't think we can prevent it from creeping into Canadian society, Wasim. I think it's there right now. I think the thing is that we need to make sure people are aware of what the risks are. There are a lot of risks right now for women, I think, in terms of not only rights, and we look at Afghanistan, we look at Iran, we look around the world at some of the really, and even to the south of the border, where women's rights in certain states right now are really compromised. And people say, oh, it can't happen in Canada. I remember I had a little press conference talking about this, and one of the reporters said, well, you're only bringing this up because you're high on the polls. And I'm like, no, I'm bringing this up because I've been involved in women's issues for a long time. And I saw what happened in the United States here, and as everybody has, we had a Supreme Court case that established a woman's right to access to an abortion in Canada as well. We had the same kind of case. It is not legislated here, and it shouldn't be, because it is a basic fundamental right of women to have access to health care, and this abortion, when it's needed, is a health care service. Yeah. I mean, it would be like saying to a man, you can't, for the government to dictate whether you can have a vasectomy or take Viagra. Yeah. Really? You think men are going to go for that? Come on. So really, this is about health care, and it's about equality. Because the reality is, there has always been a way for someone to have an emergency abortion if it's needed. But the wealthy will go to another country and get it.
Of course.
The poor will go to a doctor that may not be a good doctor, or use methods that may end up killing them. And that happened in Canada, right? That happened in Canada. And so we have to make sure we do not go backwards. This is it's not a religious issue, it's a personal issue. Everybody can make the choice for themselves. And there is no one that wants to advocate for abortions. No one wants an abortion. People need them in certain situations for health reasons. So we have to understand this is a fundamental human right. It is a health issue. And that everybody will make that decision on their own, given their beliefs, given their family situation, given their health, given their community. And it's a decision for a woman to make with her partner, whoever that partner may be, if she has one. not the and the doctor,
Yeah.
and maybe if they want there's some community members, if they want to seek advice. But how would our government know what situation a woman is in? It's like when talking about trans rights. Like, yes, there should be limits, but that should be determined by a doctor, parents, and a child, not by a government who knows nothing about them. It's really, I see it as an intrusion of the state, and I find it so interesting that it's the Conservative Party that's pushing for this. It's like they're supposed to be the free market, less government interference party, and all of a sudden,
That's changed. I mean, we are noticing a bit of a shift in ideologies and what parties believe. I mean, we are noticing it all over right now. So I'm glad that we're continuing to advocate for women's rights and women's ability to choose, what they do with their body, obviously under the guidance of professionals and whatnot, and to keep the government out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in Canada as well, we have a responsibility. We are a country that believes in human rights and freedoms. So saying Monday is the day where we recognize the International Declaration of Human Rights from the United Nations that was established in 1948 by Eleanor Roosevelt. That's a very important declaration. And we are part of the United Nations. We're part of the International Court of Justice. We believe in those things. And so when we see women in Iran, in Afghanistan, women in Afghanistan are disappearing right now. They're disappearing. And we have a responsibility as a government. And I know we're bringing a case forward to the ICJ, but we have a responsibility to stand up for human rights around the world. We can't let, when people don't understand or don't realize that what happens there impacts us. It impacts all of us. It impacts the fabric of society globally. And we can't just sit back and say, oh, it's not here, it's okay. It doesn't work that way. It affects us.
That's what a lot of people in governments are saying, that we want to focus on our issues. We don't care about what's happening over there. But that's a bit short-sighted, because whatever is happening over there can start happening here if you allow it.
You wonder why people don't want refugees and asylum seekers. You know how you help with that? You make sure they can stay in their home countries.
Yeah.
Right? People want to stay there. I always say people who leave their countries and try and seek refuge or immigrate to another country, they're people who are very brave, because it takes a lot to leave.
Why would someone want to leave their country?
Exactly.
Right? And this is something that I come from, in the Middle East, in Lebanon, and if the situation there was, great, and we didn't have wars and whatnot, we would have never left. And I'm sure you have a lot of employees and people that in your riding right now that are from Iran.
Yeah.
And the constant government intervention and the way that they treat women there, and people cannot live under that type of dictatorship, right? And people are looking for better ways, and that's why they come to Canada, because it provides them a safe place for them to grow up and live.
And this is why it kills me, Wasim, when I hear the opposition saying, our freedoms. Like, are you kidding me? We're the freest country in the world. But there's no absolute freedoms. In a society, there's always trade-offs. If I exercise every freedom I want, it may impinge on your freedoms. There's always these contracts, and we have to understand that. But when people say that about Canada, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
But you know what? This is a good. I know that there's a lot of missions that politicians go to different countries and trade missions and whatnot. But I think one of them would be like a freedom mission.
Exactly.
So go live in one of these countries and under that type of dictatorship and that type of regime, and then come back and say that we don't have those types of freedoms over here.
Exactly.
So Canada is definitely the land of the free, and we do enjoy those freedoms, but I don't think any freedoms are absolute, right?
Exactly.
And this is a conversation where people appreciate it, that we do have a lot of freedoms here, and people can be and do and act whatever way they choose responsibly. Which is a key. But to think that all of a sudden our freedoms are being taken away here, they haven't been to other places and met and talked to other people. It's almost that they're tone deaf.
Yeah, we're so free. I think about Bill C-63 right now, a bill on restricting or stopping people from committing online harms. It's basically taking legislation we already have in the physical world and putting it into the online world. So it's no difference. I mean, you can't go up and spit in someone's face. You can't go up and threaten somebody in person. That's called assault, or it's called, there's a lot of different, it's in our law. But online, people do it all the time.
Yes.
And we haven't done anything. So this bill is basically about protecting people also from exploitation, putting images up, all sorts of other things.
Yeah, Leah, I wanted to thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy right now. It's a holiday season, so happy holidays to you and your family. And thank you very much. Thank you for the way you care, because I know where your heart is. I know people can't see it. People sometimes are either red or blue or green, but I know that you bleed all colors because you care for everyone that's in the community. So I wanted to thank you for this insightful conversation, for the way you care, for what you're doing for the people of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill. And, as much as sometimes we may feel that we're not doing enough or our work, what we're doing to support people is not being appreciated, I can tell you that a lot of people that I talk to tell me that they appreciate you and everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you very much, Wasim. And back at you. I mean, really, the work you do in the community as an advocate, as supporting all these causes in our community, and just being out there as a member of the community, being very visible, as well as the work you do professionally. It's all appreciated too. So we've got to keep collaborating. And the thing is, there's so many people who are doing this in our community, and there's a lot of progress. There's a lot of goodness. We just got to keep moving forward. That's what I believe, and I think we can do that as a community. So thanks for your time today as well, and have a great holiday season as well with your family.
Thank you.